Anti-racist campaigners have long complained that the UK media fuels Islamophobia. And a new report by the Centre for Media Monitoring, which is run by the Muslim Council of Britain, appears to confirm those concerns. The report analysed over 48,000 online articles and 5,500 broadcast clips and found that almost 60% of online media articles and 47% of television clips associated Muslims or Islam with negative behaviour. What's more, over 1 in 5 articles which mentioned Muslims or Islam had a primary focus on terrorism or extremism. These statistics show Britain's media has a serious problem. And one person who knows more than most about the material consequences of this constant vilification about Muslims is Zarah Sultana. We've discussed before on this show how the 28-year-old MP for Coventry South has spoken in Parliament about the Islamophobia she faces in her job, and she's now written for Novara Media about the responsibility which the media share when it comes to this issue. Earlier today, I spoke to Zarah Sultana and started by asking her to describe some of the racist abuse she has suffered since being elected to Parliament.
Since getting elected in 2019, I've received correspondence that's hateful, racist, in the post, in my email inbox, and on social media. I found that it increases when I'm specifically in Parliament or going to protests around migrants' rights, when I'm speaking up for Palestinian people, when I'm supporting causes like Black Lives Matter. And when you read what people write, they often talk about things like migrants, and they'll talk about the fact that I'm Muslim, as well as my race and gender as well. So they bring all of those things inside what they're saying.
When you talk about this, and as you have in your Novara Media article, you sort of explain these racist incidents and these emails and these social media posts with reference to the media and the Islamophobia that we know is in the media or at the top of the political establishment. I suppose the counter to that, the pushback against that would be, is this actually just a very small minority who are being overrepresented because social media and emails, whatever, make it very, very easy for them to be very noisy and be very disruptive to your life? Do you think this is more a technology problem than it is a sort of institutional racism one? What's your take on that?
I don't think it's a technology problem. MCB's report specifically is looking at nearly 50,000 articles, nearly 5,000 broadcast clips, and saying 60% of those have coverage that you can call Islamophobic or racist or hostile towards Muslims. It doesn't have an accurate portrayal of Muslims or Islam. And then the ratio is 7-1 of that hostile coverage to stuff that's more accurate or neutral. When you see that being drip-fed into the emails that I'm getting, other MPs like Sultana Begum's getting, you can see that this is a widespread problem. Furthermore, when you look at how many hate crimes have been committed in the UK, around 50% of those were Islamophobic. There's this direct correlation. And then you have to bring in the fact that we have politicians who get away with saying things like Muslim women who wear the niqab are bank robbers, they look like letterboxes, and that also leads to that effect in the streets where people are being attacked. And then when we look at policies that this government, previous governments, including Labour governments, have introduced, like the Prevent strategy, like going to war with the pretext of using tropes that are Islamophobic, oppressive Muslim men, those sorts of things, you can see that this is very interlinked.
Most people with any empathy will recognise, you've got a young woman of colour elected to Parliament in the public eye. We have had 2 MPs who were violently killed in the last 5 or 6 years. This, I think, would terrify most people. And I want to know what sort of support you're getting, either from the police or from the House of Commons or from the Labour Party. Are there people who are sort of giving you the support that you feel like you need, or the support that you want in this situation?
Whenever we get emails or things in the post or things on social media that we think are inciting hate and also are posing a danger to me, we always report those to the police. The House of Commons security team is also made aware of those things as well. I think that the Labour Party in particular doesn't take well-being as seriously as it should. There isn't any safeguards for anyone when you're going through anything really. And I think that's something that the party needs to really address. In terms of getting the support that I need. I have an excellent staff team. They are amazing and they provide a lot of support, my family and friends too. But I think this is an issue that, sure, I'm experiencing individually, but there are more people that are going through the same as me. And I think the party in particular needs to do more. I find it quite hurtful that the leader of my party has found it difficult to express solidarity publicly to both me and Upsana. I think, in any job, you just expect that as a kind of bare minimum, especially when others are able to get that solidarity online. So I think that there are definitely things that the party should be doing to make us feel like we're not just being left to get attacked and then we're just going to not get any support.
I've seen lots of people make a comparison between Keir Starmer's public statements in support of Angela Rayner and the absence of any in relation to the abuse you've experienced. Obviously, you both deserve that solidarity. Has he contacted you privately? Is it just a public thing that he's scared to get involved in this, publicly online? Privately, has he expressed his solidarity?
Nothing, both publicly and privately.
And even from his team? So has anyone from his office sort of taken this on and reached out to you, even if, maybe Keir Starmer doesn't have time, if that's his excuse?
I've had other members of the front bench who've been in touch, people who people like Nick Thomas Simmons, Louise Hay, various others, but no one from Lotto, not Keir himself.
Wow. I mean, that's really remarkable. What do you think that's about? What's your what do you think is going on here?
I genuinely have no idea. It shocks me as well. So, I don't know.
As I sort of said earlier, I think many people watching this will feel a great amount of empathy. Young woman of color in the public eye, very talented, got elected, exactly the kind of person who we want to be in Parliament. But it seems like you're in quite a difficult situation at this point in time. What I want to know, would you advise someone in your situation or someone who was in your situation 2 years ago to stand for Parliament, to become a Labour MP? Or does sometimes you think maybe this is more trouble than it's worth?
It's a difficult question. I think it is an incredibly privileged position that I'm in, to be elected, to be able to represent people, to tell the Tories to their face what I think of them on behalf of so many who feel the same. It's an honour, and I feel very lucky to be in this position. Equally, at the same time, the stuff that you have to deal with continuously, the effect that it has on your mental health, all of those things, like your family and your friends worrying, it has a huge cost. And I would love to just tell people, like, everyone should try to become an MP. You should definitely, pursue that kind of career, especially if you want to make a difference. But if you're a woman of color, if you're Muslim, if you're from a background where people think that you shouldn't be here, it's difficult. But I feel like I have a responsibility to speak up about this so people are, one, aware, and then two, we do something about it, because I'm sick of talking about it. It's not nice. It's shit, really. But we talk about it. People like Upsana and others who spoke in that Islamophobia debate in Westminster Hall just a couple of days ago, they're speaking about it not because it feels good. It doesn't. It feels completely the opposite, but we're doing it. So let's talk about the issues that exist. Now let's do something about it. And I feel like I don't want to be here in 10, 15, 20 years having the same conversation that we're still getting abused, we're still treated like shit. Let's do something about it. And I think that's what's really important, that we identify that it's not just us. We see the attacks that are happening on a group of communities, right? Like when we look at what's happening with the trans community, the way the media is whipping up a lot of this hate, how it goes unchallenged in so many political spaces, in so many, my party also doesn't have a particularly proud record on this. as well as other communities under attack as well. And I think we all need to stand together in solidarity and have this united front and say, actually, attack on one of us is an attack on all of us, and we're not going to stand up for it. And I think the Labour Party in particular, when it comes to the Muslim community, when we look at the Labour Muslim report that came out a couple of months ago, when we look at some of the briefings that were coming out around Batley and Spence, saying, actually, if we lose the Muslim community's votes, then no big deal. I mean, that's just disgusting. You shouldn't be able to get away with saying things like that about any community, especially a community that votes overwhelmingly for the Labour Party, that is disproportionately reflected in poverty stats, in low health outcomes, in the housing crisis that we see in our country. And I think there needs to be a bit more respect and a lot more attention given to these issues.
Finally, because I know we've got to let you go because you're an incredibly busy person, but there were reports recently about threats to deselect you. Now, I know from the comments on our video, we did a video on it, like people are terrified that one of the few left-wing MPs they think speaks for them could be removed from the PLP. How worried are you about a deselection threat?
This is a process that all Labour MPs are going through, and I've been working hard in my constituency and with my CLP, building those good relationships. And I'm hopeful that they will reselect me as their candidate, but the power is with them, and hopefully I will get their vote when that time comes.
That was Zarah Sultana giving, a very impressive answer on that last question. That's what I would love to have heard from all the right-wing MPs when Corbyn was leader, who, when they were asked, "Are you worried about deselection?" said, "Well, that'll be up to my constituents. Not my constituents, sorry, my members. I try and have a strong, positive relationship to them." Instead, what do we hear? "Oh, yes, I'm terrified. It's bullying. It's a purge." No, it's democracy. Obviously, so many things to say about what Zarah said there, but I think, what I was most shocked by, and I imagine what lots of you guys will be shocked by, not even a message, not just from Keir Starmer, but from anyone in his office. Not a card, not a message, no acknowledgement whatsoever. And they can't claim ignorance because Zarah has spoken very powerfully about this in Parliament. Social media clips that have got hundreds of thousands of views with her talking about the painful experience of being a young Muslim woman in the public eye. And no one in their office has said anything. And it seems, well, on one level, it's kind of sociopathic, I think, like to just not express solidarity. What the hell are you doing? At the same time, it's just bad politics. It makes them look terrible. Obviously, they don't have to worry about that because the media aren't going to care about this particular story. If this was Jeremy Corbyn who hadn't reached out to someone who'd been experiencing racism, we'd hear about that all the time. With Keir Starmer, no, it's fine. Because also, so much of our media sees someone like Zarah Sultana, someone on the left, young woman of colour in public life, a Muslim openly, someone who talks about being Muslim. These things are not accepted in our society, which means that this racism can happen against a very impressive public figure, and so little solidarity is offered from our media class or even from the leader of her own party. Now, I mentioned in that interview that Keir Starmer has expressed solidarity with other MPs for receiving similar abuse to Zarah Sultana. This was something he tweeted on Tuesday, because Angela Rayner had received threats. So Keir Starmer tweeted, "The threats that Angela and her family have faced are abhorrent. There is absolutely no place for it in our politics or in our society." And that's a good tweet. That's a fine tweet. I'm not going to say because Zarah Sultana didn't get solidarity, Angela Rayner doesn't deserve it. Angela Rayner deserves solidarity. Even if there were someone in his office who was stupid enough to think that a leader of a party shouldn't be expressing solidarity with their own MPs, they clearly don't have that policy. So it does seem like Zarah Sultana is being victimized essentially here. No contact whatsoever, no message, no card. It's just the least you can do if you are a remotely decent person. And I think for all of the promises broken, for all of the cowardly, two-faced actions which Keir Starmer has taken, I think having a young Muslim female MP in your party, newly elected, not an easy thing to do, to be elected as a young woman to Parliament, who is receiving racist abuse and has spoken openly about it multiple times in public, and which has rightly got attention. People have watched those speeches and been really moved by them. And he's just pretending nothing has happened. I think it's completely bizarre. It speaks to a really weird character, frankly. Well, either a cruel character or a weird one. I can't really fathom being that way.